what do you take out of that one, because it was tough in there?
No, it was tough, and we had some challenges pre-game, and that's not unique. Every club, will often have curveballs thrown at them, but Blitzarves is such an important player for us, and him going out late threw our plans a little bit. And we actually had an issue with Jack Henry, an hour before the game, and it was sort of 50-50 as to whether he might play, and now we're kind of ruining the decision, even though he started so well. And it was completely unrelated to the hamstring that he did, so it's disappointing to miss him. But any team would struggle taking two of your best, if not your best, key defenders out of the team. So given that backdrop, we were really pleased with the performance. And the sliding doors moments become more obvious the longer you're in the game, I think. Connor O'Sullivan, he would have played anyway, but spot opened up early in the year with College Asney sort of being out, and Connor's come in and been really good for us and was fantastic tonight. And then, Reece Stanley was really good in the ruck, we thought, competed against one of, the modern greats in that position. And then in the shuffle, Taconi played a bit more back, and he was really solid too, we thought. So in that context, there are other positives too, but we just thought it wasn't your kind of standard, everything went to plan sort of night. We did need to adjust on the run. I thought the players, really responded with that little shift in plan.
What was Jack's issue before the game, and how's his hamstring now?
So the ankle before the game, it's a bit more complicated than an ankle. Ankle foot, I'm going to say, but he was really confident that he could play, and then you could sort of see 20 minutes into the game he was playing really well, and that his decision there looked vindicated. And then the hamstring was out of the blue, so hard to determine the severity, but he'll miss weeks.
How far back does the ankle issue go?
Matt, can you remind me? It's a week or two. Yeah.
And do you have an idea of the severity of the hamstring at this stage, or still?
No, I mean, no. They're often with, what I will say is often with the hamstrings, they say this is a really bad one, so it's not that. And it's not just a little tweak where they're sort of unsure where there's any issue. It's kind of, I think in the old days they'd say this is your standard 21-day hamstring, but I wouldn't say that if I were you, because I've got no idea whether it's accurate.
Blitzarves probably okay for next week, or?
Yeah, certainly. He had gastro, so likely.
You mentioned, could you give us a few more comments about his game? It just seems to be excelling at the level.
Yeah, we're
better every week.
Yeah, that's our observation as well. My view is it's really difficult for very young key defenders to come in and play good AFL footy right from the start. I mean, just even if you think through it logically, they come into the AFL system having never played against men, and your first AFL game, it's not as if you can hide, outside the contest. You've got to come in and play on, often big, strong, 10-year veteran key forwards. And we've been reticent to sort of throw him to the wolves in that sort of scenario. But he's a super athlete, one of the best runners, in a team of good runners. So that's sort of saying something at 198 centimetres. And so we think he has the capacity just to play as a genuine key defender, but it looks to us like he can read the play well enough. And that was kind of the feed. He's a top 10 draft pick, so the talent, is implied there. But the feedback we got from the recruiters is, yes, he's a key defender, but he was a high possession winner as a key defender in his junior footy, and we're starting to see the reasons why.
And he's filled out quite a bit compared to last year. Just to my eye, it looks like he's got a real presence this year as well.
Yeah, we're really careful not to rush that. Again, our policy is not, hey, you're going to have to play against guys that are 15 kilos heavier than you, so we've got to get 15 kilos into you as quickly as possible. And it's also combined with the fact that he is such a good runner. We don't want to blunt those strengths either. But it looks like so he has developed a bit, and he's worked. He's a brilliant athlete to watch in the pre-season, being so tall and such a good runner, and he's starting to look stronger. But the thing that is appealing to me the most is his craft. He positioned really well, and it's sometimes hard being under that high ball, but it looked like he intercepted and made it as difficult for the Melbourne forwards as any of our backs.
I'm sure you'll say this is going to be a good problem to have, but assuming Blitzars is fine next week and Henry's not, are you going too tall if you put him back, Blitzars back into that role, or do you have to sort of balance things up? Given Stanley played so well, DeConing looked good in defence, it's a sort of tricky situation.
Yeah, I don't think being too tall will be our problem with Jack going out. Like he's a genuine key defender for us, so we do need to replace him. Yeah, I'd have to think through it a little bit more, Josh. And you know, I hate preempting selection as well. And Adelaide, good forward line, but who doesn't?
The mark count was incredibly lopsided tonight. Was that more your strategy, you think, or more Melbourne's strategy that you're able to control the footy like that?
A little bit of both. I don't really like commenting on what Melbourne were trying to do. Or any opposition for that matter. But yeah, I'm trying to say something without saying what I really think. We really
Say what you really think.
No, I can't, because we really admire the way they play, and there are some things that look, if you kick it to Mayo night, you're going to have a difficult night. So that's probably the crux of it. But there's also the last couple of weeks we just don't feel like we've got our game going enough. So it was surprised me a little bit the number of marks overall. We weren't tracking it. It wasn't as if we said that's what we want to go out to do. And the opposition always have a bit of a choice. Like it would be, because everyone says, oh, why don't you just stop them marking the ball? But you can leave your defence really, really vulnerable if you play so high. So that's often the kind of friction within those sort of games. It's a bit of a game of chess. Can we bring them up if they're sitting back? If they do come up, we've got some dangerous players ahead of the ball. As the game went on, we thought it got better for us. But even having said that, we thought we were playing pretty well early on, just didn't quite get the gap on the scoreboard that we thought we should have, which always makes you a bit nervous. But the players' sort of willingness to really commit to the style that we were after, we were impressed by.
You're a month into your season now. Do you have a good read on where you're at?
I always think it takes a long time. I mean, I used to say you've got to wait until everyone's played each other, but sometimes you don't play teams until round 22. The draw's quirky. More than ever, it's kind of, you could run into a team that's really hot, or you can get a bit lucky and you can get a team like Lever's really important to Melbourne, for example, but would have preferred to play them last week without Pickett as well. And so those sort of things you can, I think you can read way too much into form lines, especially early in the year. And you can get carried away with your own form as well. So I think we're probably we're disappointed we lost 2 games that we thought were in a position to win. On balance, yeah, if you took out the rest of the competition that we're a bit daunted by, we feel like we're in a pretty good spot.
How did you rate Danger's game when you've got Cameron and Stengel perhaps a little bit down in terms of defensive power, but 3 goals? How did you rate his performance?
I thought he was brilliant. Like it's, did he kick 3? Maybe could have kicked 5. But even as always, the thing I've admired about him is not necessarily his output on the stat sheet. It's even some of the. I'm not even sure whether he got a touch in certain situations, but his ability to keep the ball alive and break open a few packs. I just thought he looked really powerful ahead of the ball. So it's obvious when he floats across the front of the pack like that. But there were things that maybe were less obvious that we loved about him ahead of the ball. So that's, it takes up a lot of our time thinking about how we maximise his impact, but it's just so pleasing to see at his age and stage of his career to be such a threat ahead of the ball.
I think he's played a 50-50 split in midfield compared to forward, so that's a concerted effort from you to have him spending more time forward the ball this year compared to previous seasons.
Yeah, it's deliberate, but I'd describe it as a partnership between our 3 assistant coaches and I and Pat. Kind of the 5 of us sort of work on it, and Pat gets the strongest say in it. And that's sort of the way we try to run our program, especially with our influential players. But there hasn't been a lot of back and forth. It's pretty unanimous. when we sort of talk about what we think our best look is. And the more we can be kicking the ball to him rather than have him kicking it in there, we think it's going to be better for us.
And when it comes to game day, how much of the keys are you handing over to him to decide when to have that run in the middle? Or
It's a good question. It's not as binary as that. It's more as sort of, what are you seeing? This is what we're seeing, and you sort of come to a position. But no, if you had to go one way or the other, he gets more say than us.
So you prefer forward or mid?
Is he?
So you prefer forward or in the midfield?
Sorry, is the question?
Does
Is
he prefer forward or in the midfield?
I think he thinks that he can be a forward for a long time, for many years to come. Yeah, I think he's looking forward to that challenge.
That's what Brad Johnson said on the radio tonight. He said he can play there as long as he wants.
Oh, Jono would know, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the best player of all time did it, didn't he? Went forward, and I don't know how long Lee played for, but it was a while. Like, yeah, they're a bit similar. And I think the thing that, when you look at older players, like the ones that haven't lost their speed and power, you think, well, if they can do that, they can play forever. Pat certainly hasn't lost any of that.